Everyone, welcome back to the Plunder Den. In this week's episode, we're going to be building a winter encampment. So this is another continuation of the winter terrain that we've already been building, and I really wanted to, build kind of a couple small structures or a temporary campsite that was erected just to deal with a blizzard or a storm, or it could even be something that was kind of permanent. Really, I had a lot of inspiration in this project, all from all sorts of sources, but I think it leans more to Celtic, and it's got more of kind of a fantasy feel. But it definitely could be used something similar in North America as well. So it could be used in Blood and Plunder. But this probably leans more to the fantasy side. It could be used for Dungeons and Dragons. Again, another piece of terrain that could be used for a wide range of games. And that's kind of the theme of the channel. I've been trying to build things that you guys could use for all sorts of things. At least, even if you didn't go the winter route, you could just not add the snow component to it, and just use it as a, some other kind of encampment for another game, not in a winter one situation, whatever you need it for. Anyways, the best thing to do is just look at what we're going to build today, and then I can describe what I constructed here and kind of tell you about the influences on it. And I kind of mentioned that it's more of a Celtic feel. So you can see it's got kind of a, it's got like a moss that they just put on top, and but it's partially covered. Some of it's not. It's got frosted covered wood. I put a little frost along the bottoms in here because it's going to fit with the other snow terrain that I've already created on the channel. So it's kind of like I'm setting up a whole table of different pieces that you could use or place in there for winter terrain. So let's just take a look at that. Get a close look at that. And unlike some of my other structures, the roof doesn't come off or anything. It is hollow in the bottom, so I mean you could put a miniature and just put it on top, right? But I added a little hole for where they would have, had, if they were having a fire inside, they would have had somewhat of a really rudimentary kind of chimney on there. So I kind of wanted to have a basic structure. This kind of reminds me of those ones they built on that TV show Alive. They just kind of slap something temporary together with resources that are around them. So that's one. I built two of them because it can't be an encampment if it's just got one, right? So I made two. So this is the second one. And it's very similar. It's not very straight and organized. It looks like it just, like I said, they just slapped it together, and that's kind of how I want it to look. All right, so pretty much the same as the other one, slightly different. And then I decided to have some kind of fire pit they were cooking on, but of course it's a little bit snow frosted. Very simple, just a stick over top of some stones that they would have maybe hung a pot over or something like that just to cook on. Again, really something just basic that matches the rest of this terrain. So it's just some simple encampment that was put together. All right, so that's pretty much it. That's what we're going to build today in today's episode. If you guys like what we're doing here in the Plunder Den, make sure you smash that like button and consider subscribing to the Plunder Den and get first-hand information when I start these kind of projects. All right, everyone, let's get down to the table. Let's start doing some painting, and let's start doing some crafting. Okay, so let's look at some of the items I used for this project. So we got some willow fence here. I've used this a lot on the channel. Now you could use dowels instead. Willow fencing, if you couldn't find it, it would work just as good. Green moss, that's from the dollar store. And we got our fabric creation, some fabric. This is from Walmart. They sell pre-cut fabric. We got some insulation foam, just a bit of balsa wood, some coffee stir sticks, and then we have our snow decorative sand there that I got from Michael's, regular sand, and there's some smaller black stones. Those are all from the section where they have decorative vases in Michael's. That's the stuff you put in them. Just some dollar store foam board and a little bit of teddy bear fur for this project. We're going to use some teddy bear fur in this project. All right, so I started out by just measuring with one of my minis, just kind of how tall the roof I wanted it to be. and just made this basic triangle shape. Of course, I made 4 of these. I wanted to make 2 structures, and I just used some white tacky glue to glue these together. That's just some willow fencing. So then I glued the 2 bases together, as you can see, and then I actually used some coffee stir sticks to kind of just start framing it out, just so it can freestand on its own. And I kind of just made it kind of sloppy on the ends, like they just slapped this together really easily. I didn't want it to be too uniformed, just really like a shelter that just slapped together. So I just added more and more coffee stir sticks, and I'm just kind of showing you at different stages, kind of adding to this frame. Now, of course, I let it dry a little bit between. Tacky glue glues pretty quickly, but I kind of waited before I started moving on. But the more sticks you add to it, the more strength you're going to get. It seems fragile right now, but as you go along, it becomes less fragile. So I also added some more of the willow fencing on the inside to give it more support, and then I started doing the ends with more coffee stir sticks here, just kind of making an entranceway of some sort. And you can see it's not very straight. It's just like something that, like I said, just put up really quickly. And I got the back on here, and just pretty well have it all fabricated. Now I kind of made a little spot here. This is what I used the balsa wood for, just to kind of frame out kind of like a small chimney of sort. Just an opening in the top, similar to a teepee actually, just have an opening on the top where the smoke would come out from the fire that's inside to keep them warm. So then we moved on to the fabric itself. I just cut some sections off to cover the roof. And I cut a little bit enough so I could actually fold it underneath. When we stick it on there with the paint here in a minute, I'm just showing you, just fold it underneath like that. We're going to paint it on to this structure here. And that's how we're going to get it to stay. Now, of course, we're going to paint the actual structure first, and then we're going to paint the fabric on top here. So I'm going to use some black craft paint, folk art craft paint, but I did add some Mod Podge to it. So I kind of did a 50-50 mix there, just to make it a little more stickier. So that's what I'm kind of illustrating here. I added some Mod Podge to that black paint. And I painted the bottoms first. You can see this one I've already added the fabric to it, but this one I haven't. And I kind of did it like right afterwards, so it's still kind of wet, and this helps the fabric adhere to it better. Once this dries with that black and Mod Podge mix, yeah, it's glued on. It's not going anywhere, and it actually makes it super strong. That hardens, and then it kind of puts around your weak wood here, your little coffee stir sticks, and it gives it a lot of strength. So then I moved on to the teddy bear fur. I kind of wanted to add some moss or something to the top of it, kind of, like I said, give it more of a Celtic feel. And all I did was I trimmed the teddy bear fur down to it's really short. And then I just kind of cut it in chunks. And I kind of randomly put it on top. I didn't put it all the way down, just kind of like chunks for the very top to keep it waterproof at the top. And a little bit warmer inside. And then I just used that black and Mod Podge again. So this is how I made the fire pit. I just cut some insulation foam. There's a Dollar Store foam board. Really simple. Not a lot of extras in there. Just tacky glued it together. And I'm just going to show you how it looks after I finish these other pieces. So this is like solid as a rock. It's hard. And it's really good. It'll be really easy to paint the final paint job. So that's after that black paint and Mod Podge is dried and on top of that teddy bear fur. So here we go. We got, we're going to add some stuff to the inside of this fire pit. So I added some sand and rocks. Just use some white tacky glue and glued it into the center. Kind of like the old ambers that are in the middle. And I kind of want to have that stick going across. Kind of implying that they use it to cook over the fire. And just really basic, and do a lot of extra details on there, just a basic fire pit. And then I decided to make some doors. I just used some smaller willow fencing, a couple pieces of coffee stir stick, just to make a basic, real basic door. And you can see when I cut it at an angle, because just kind of the way the door entranceway looks like on one of them, I wanted it to fit inside there. So then I'm going to use that black and Mod Podge mix again, cover all of it so everything's sealed in nicely. And then we're going to move on to real brown. So we're going to start using my undertones as I always do. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time here, just telling you the colors that I used. I use my standard paintbrush, and I'm able to do it on there because of it being hardened. It was easy to put my undertones on there. So this is after I've added the real brown. And that's what it looks like. Now I'm going to add the bark brown, which is just a lighter brown, highlighting it, moving up my earth tones on this terrain. And you can see what it looks like after that. And again, I just used a bigger brush and just kind of somewhat dry brushed it on. Then I use the Pablo, which is an orange, really highlight everything, give it a really brighter undertone. It should look like this. It highlights all the details too on that teddy bear fur, which we're gonna use as moss. They kind of just slap that on top of. You see that a lot of in structures like this. I think it just adds keep it warm in there and make it more waterproof, the roof. So we're going to move to camel, and we're going to add this in a few different spots. I'm not going to hit the teddy bear fur, but I'm going to hit the fabric here and give it a lighter color. Hit all the boards just very lightly, just to lighten them up a little bit more than the orange color. And kind of just all the other pieces, so the rocks here, some of the stuff inside the fire pit, the ends of the boards that are cut, and just kind of highlight some of that stuff. So you can see this is after I've completed it, so get some basic colors on everything, kind of lightens everything up, starting to give it a more aged wood look to it as well, especially when we put that frosting on there. So this is a different color I haven't used before on the channel, but it's kind of a moss green folk art paint, which will come in handy for the moss that we're going to put on top here. So we're going to use a little craft paint on here first before we move on to some of the more expensive paints here. Just add this color to it first. I really like this mossy. It's called Mossy Meadow, actually. That's the name of the folk art paint. And it's got a really nice, good color. It's good for an undertone, especially if you're going to add some more colors over top of it. It's a good base color, as you can see here. Obviously, this is too bright, and we're going to have to hit a few other things to darken it up a little bit. So we're going to use this Grave Land Gray here, matte black, matte white, kind of mix it together, and we're just going to start adding, just kind of like the fortification we did. The frosting of the fortification. We just lightly tap that on there. You can see it really gives it a nice aged wood, and having all those undertones of browns and stuff, it really gives it a really aged wood look, and that's what we're going for. And really all I did was use a smaller brush, and I'm going to show you an example over here, and I kind of just barely touch everything and just slightly highlight everything until I get to a nice gray, like that's the one I've already completed. And even if you get a little too much brush, like paint on your brush, just spread it out further. Just keep rubbing it in, and you'll get some bright areas, some dark areas, light areas. Just hit some of the edges. But really, I'm just going to try to lighten it up with this gray here. It gives it a nice weathered look, and really helps sell when we get to the white and add so it looks like it's frozen or frosted, because this is a winter piece that we're building here. But we're going to slowly lighten it up, but I also want the wood to look aged at the same time. So this takes a little bit more time using a smaller brush, but you can see the areas that I hit. I went up and hit the timbers up top as well. So this is after that's completed. I really like those colors. It's starting to look a little more aged now, more weathered and used. I also added some gray to the very top of the roof, as you can see. And I'm really just laying the foundations for the snow and frost I'm going to put on the top. I also added some gray to this fire pit as well, to some of the stones, just to start to get a little variety in the rocks that are there. So that's Malignant Green. It's kind of a speed paint. Great to add a little green grunge to things. Commando Green. This is Skeleton Horde, Serpent Serpia, and Agrax Earth Shader, which, I call it my grunge team. Add a little grunge to all the terrain. So I'm going to add those greens to the moss on top, just kind of highlight a few areas. And then we're going to hit a lot of those, all those three grunge, the grunge team there and everything, just give everything a grimy look. So this is after I've added all that. I've added all that grime to it. It's really looking really good, really weathered. That's what I was going for. So just around the base of this, I'm going to use that moss that we talked about. This is dollar store moss. All I did is take that out of the package, cut it with a pair of scissors till it's really fine, and it's good for a good flocking. And I've used it on several projects. And I'm just going to put some white tacky glue around that fire pit, and we're just going to add that just like this. Glue it on really good. Again, put a generous amount of the tacky glue. So now we're going to add our snow feature. This is that decorative sand that you get from Michael's. And I'm just going to use some white tacky glue and blob it off into different areas, especially on the peak of the roof here, around that fire pit. And then we're going to add that sand onto like we're adding flocking to it. And it gives it a nice snow look. Now, when this dries, it'll actually be a little bit clearer because the glue dries clear. And then you come back over it with this matte white paint. And we're going to give our final snow, look to it, frozen look to it. So we're going to hit all the snow features we added, highlight them more. And we can see I've rubbed a lot of the white along the bottom. So it looks like the frost is coming up the sides. Really worked all the wood area, added some more to the top of the moss, so it looks like the snow is falling down, and really just kind of where I think everything's going to be. Now, I didn't add anything to the middle because the middle's not exposed as much to the elements, but I still wanted the planks to look weathered on the inside, so that's why I went that way with the colors on it. But I'm really happy with the final look of these. I think they look fantastic. The great colors, and it looks like it should be just some old little shacks put together, weathered by the cold weather. And then our fire pit here. No fancy lights or nothing in there, just a standard fire pit. But it looks like the snow was doused whatever was in it. But this works out good for our small little encampment. Great for any kind of fantasy game you're playing, or really any historical game would work as well. So I just kind of going to show you the table here with it on there. And you can see it looks really good with this other winter terrain that I've already constructed. And it's really this is a fourth project we've done, a winter terrain. I really like this exploration of these different projects we've done with winter terrain. So that's it for this project. Kind of look forward to our next episode. I'm kind of getting ready for Adepticon, so there's some projects I want to get completed before I head down to Milwaukee. All right, that's it for this one, though. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.